Hello and welcome to Capricorn Makes. I'm Stacy, and yeah, I'm still sick. So I've got my always helps me feel better skeleton onesie and some coffee, and I'm going to talk about the BJD Addicts prompt number 2, which is fears in the hobby. Now, I've seen quite a lot of these, and I see people say, oh, I'm afraid that what if I lose enthusiasm for my dolls, or what if I, spend and lose a whole bunch of money, or what if the dolls break, or, sure, those are things that I might worry about, but those are not really the sorts of things. When you have a hobby, it is things that you're participating in because you enjoy something. You enjoy something, you enjoy talking with people, you enjoy learning about it, you enjoy participating in it, you enjoy playing around with it, you enjoy the thing. And so if you're spending money to enjoy something and to participate, the money aspect isn't an issue for me. And it is, like, things cost money and money is money, but I'm not afraid of losing a bunch of money. I suppose the only thing in that, like, if a shipping transaction or a shipping thing goes wrong, sure, I'm like, if something happens and I'm out a whole bunch of money and I don't have anything physical in front of me, and there for some reason isn't a way that I can recoup that or manage to actually get the physical thing in front of me, that I suppose is a little bit of a concern, but it's not the kind of thing that keeps me up at night. Do you know what absolutely destroys my enthusiasm for a hobby, for a topic, for doing a thing? It's people, because people really suck a lot. And I know you know what I'm talking about. It is. Whenever I walk into a new endeavor, it is not the thing itself that I worry about. It is other people, because in every single group, in every single hobby, there are going to be people who are just there to throw their, whatever weight that they have around and ruin it for everyone else. And it's not even that these people are necessarily malicious. It's not that these people are doing things because they, it's like, that's not what they're there for. They're not just trolling. They're not just, they may feel very passionate about subjects, and it's, and they, for some reason feel like that's the only way to enjoy the hobby. Their way and no other way whatsoever. That's it. And they are very vocal about making sure that that happens. And I was explaining this to my husband at one point, and I'm like, yeah, I'm really kind of concerned about this. I'm concerned about making videos. I'm concerned about getting my Instagram up and running, because once I get out there and once people start knowing who I am, then people will start attaching themselves to me, which sounds really bad, but you know what I mean. You make friends, you make contacts, you you get to know who people are over time. And I think whenever I go into, the things that I'm talking about, I am going to preface this in saying I am not talking about any individuals whatsoever. I'm not naming any names. I may not even have anybody in mind, or I may not even have run into this in the BJD hobby. But I'm talking about larger patterns that I've seen in the groups that I have been a part of, in hobbies that I've had throughout my entire life. These are just like normal group dynamics that I've seen. And then I will talk about some that do seem specific to the BJD hobby, because there are some issues that are going on that are quite visible as a newcomer. But anyway, I was speaking with my husband about this, about one of the other hobbies that I have, and he's like, yeah, it really seems like the less power that people actually have, the more they are wanting to make those sorts of power displays. And I think he's right, because the situations in which people actually have a lot of power and control over other people, the less likely those sorts of social campaigns to ruin people will happen, the less bullying that happens, because people understand that this is, that they have a sort of real effect on people's lives. And so in spheres where nobody's really in control of things, like a hobby where you collect dolls for your personal enjoyment, that is, that is something where no one individual has a lot of power. Normally, like, nobody is controlling what you are going out there and buying and saying, you must enjoy this doll, you must enjoy only tinies, and you can only get anthros, and it must be the anthros from this company, and you can only put them in this wigs, and that is the only right way to enjoy BJDs, which is the most ridiculous thing ever. Like, everybody would agree that's not realistic. I mean, there are those people who like those super huge, 80 centimeter plus talls, who would be like, what is with this tiny anthro only kick? I mean, it's like, that's not the way they choose to enjoy their hobby. And really, there's nothing you can do to say anything against that except be a dickhead on social media. So that's fine. So, I mean, clearly I've been bitten by this, it's, it's a big topic, and it's really, a shame. And I think I've had one poor actual experience, and it was, in a group where, someone was sharing something about their own dolls, and someone else came on and was basically said, well, if you do this, I don't understand how you can do that. You may as well just throw your doll in the garbage. And that wasn't what was said, but that was essentially really clearly the message of what was being said about this. And I'm like, I can't. Like, I actually said something, and I almost never say anything because getting into those kinds of arguments, but I did not want the original poster to feel like that was okay. Like, that was what everybody else was thinking, because it's not. It's absolutely not. And I just, that kind of immaturity and that kind of, like, holier than thou lording it over on other people about things that are a luxury item that are I'm like, it's not, it's not okay. It's just, all of this is not okay. But I mean, as you can see, like, this, I have had hobbies that I have been pushed out of before. From just people being the biggest dicks. And it just got to the point where, like, it was just easier to quit the hobby than it was to deal with all of these absolutely insufferable people. And I really see a lot of people leaving the hobby, the BJD hobby, for that reason, because there's this sort of general etiquette that, lacks any kind of, I mean, most of the people that I have met, like, I've been meeting people, I've been talking with people, and people have been wonderful. I mean, that's not the issue here. Like, I have really met some funny, interesting, knowledgeable, incredible artists through this who are, like, just, I feel really lucky. So it's not like people in general, but that's the other thing. It's like, I'm getting to know all of these really interesting people, and as a newcomer to a hobby, one of the things that has happened to me before is that I get to know, or like, I come to a new group of people, and I think this is what I am afraid of the most. I come to a new group of people, a new hobby, and there are people who are very visible. In the BJD hobby, it's people who have a lot of views, people who are really active on social media, people perhaps who have YouTube channels, perhaps who are like big posters on things or have their own groups, or, you have voices in the community who, names that everybody recognizes, or people who are quite enthusiastic about greeting new people. And I've had that in other hobbies as well, where you come in and there are people who are like, oh, hooray, it's a new person, how are you, la la la. And they're friendly and they're nice. And you really, you see these people, or you hear perhaps their reputations, or you hear about like, oh, I was watching so-and-so's video and I was thinking this or that or whatever. And so you build, like, two things happen. Like, one of which is you're presented with like a friendly face and a friendly attitude, and they're lovely, lovely, lovely people. And you may find out later on down the line that this is not necessarily a person who jives with your inner sense of ethics. And And again, I am saying I am not speaking about anybody in specific in the BJD community here. Like none of you, nobody else who else is out there. I'm just saying that this is something that has happened to me before in other hobbies. So please don't think I'm like vague booking here about anything. But I am going to talk in doll hobby terms because it makes sense for the discussion. But so like, say you have like this person who's really friendly and who speaks with you and you really like them. That's the thing, you really like them as a person. You think they're funny, you think they're witty, you know, it's great that this person is speaking with you, you get to share things with them. But then you might find out later on down the line, after some people are starting to snub you, and you're like, what is going on? That the person that you've been speaking with happens to have a really bad reputation for being a dickhole on the internet. Or perhaps they are, they have a string of really bad transactions gone really wrong, like they have scammy behavior, or like you know, these are things that are not visible to people right out the gate. You know, and so you end up in a situation where you have now found out that somebody who you really actually like really has a set of ethics that don't jive with your own. And it's like, for some people that may not be a big deal, or for some people they might like listen to that person and go, oh, well, these particular situations were just exceptions, you know, and it's really sad that, you know, you've gotten bad feedback about that, but, you know, what can you do? Sometimes that just happens to a normal person. But then there is that taint that happens, and you don't know as a new person what that's going to be. And I just, you know, so there's sort of this war between like some of the conflicts are, you know, you have a person that you really, really like who is really funny, who you consider a friend, but then they have behaviors that you really don't agree with. That is just a normal life thing that happens. Like like in my normal life, I do not have a lot of friends who are smokers. Not because I really have any moral stance on the issue, but because I actually have really bad contact allergies in my eyes and on my skin. And even just being around someone who smells heavily of cigarettes is enough to give me rashes, and enough to, I actually have something, this is going to be terrible, I actually have a condition where I have lesions on the inside of my eyeballs that scratch off the surface of my eye. So anything that is airborne burns the crap out of my eyes. And so even someone just smelling strongly of cigarettes, you know, someone who has nothing but like like one cigarette on their lunch break can be enough for me to not be able to physically be around this person. But I mean, clearly I am, unless I'm receiving a doll that smells of cigarettes, I don't care if you are one of my doll friends on the internet and you smoke. I mean, like, that's not, but it is an incompatibility with the way that I need to live my life, even if I like this person a lot. So I'm sure I have more friends on the internet who are smokers than people that I know in real life because of that particular thing. This is rambling all over the place. That's okay. But I mean, you can see how like the fears that I have are all based around, you know, inexperience with a particular hobby, not knowing if like you get to know somebody and other people have had bad experiences with them, and so you're taking bullying and you're taking hits that I don't want to say belong to this other person, but you're receiving negative impact from the community because of this other person that you may not have chosen to interact with once you you know, once you find out why there is that particular tension. So like you might find out and you might be, why is that even an issue? This person is great. I'm going to really support this person. You know, that might be one of your reactions to it. And one of your reactions might be to just distance yourself and say like, right now I need to focus on my hobby. I'm really sorry that you're dealing with this pushback. But really it's because you're a dick on the internet. You know, I mean, like it's, you know, I'm not saying that I want to pick fights with people or I want to, want to do this, but it's just, it is that ever-present terror of coming into a new hobby and not knowing the social landscape, not knowing, you know, not who I should avoid, but who is a walking landmine. Yeah, I just, that always scares me at the beginning of any new hobby, because it's usually not the hobby itself or my lack of interest for the hobby, but it is other people. Now, on the end of that, or, you know, on the flip side of that, I will reiterate that I have met some really amazing, really interesting people. And while I have identified some people that I don't speak with, who I probably won't cultivate a relationship with on purpose in the community. I'm not going to be rude to them unless they're dickholes, and then I'll report them to whatever, you know, whatever medium we happen to be on, and then just very privately keep to myself what has happened, unless it is, you know, scammy behavior and they're going around and like intentionally ruining other people, in which case I will, you know, be absolutely in like the poor unsuspecting person's corner, because, you know, it's that kind of behavior is unacceptable. Yeah, I'm not really sure. But yes, fears. People are always my worst fears, because they introduce things that are outside of your own experience. And yeah. So, I don't know. I think that's it. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that's it for now. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you in the next one.